Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy, and it's been a while since my last upload, about 6 months to be exact, and in that time, great games came out, great games, Fallout, Black Ops 3, The Division. So, I took a little break, played them, and some things in my personal life happened, I won't bore you with those, but I'm one of those beta players for Destiny. I've been playing for a long time. My Xbox tells me that I played like 2,400 hours into the game, something crazy. I've never put that much time or energy into a game, and then I do YouTube for it. But while I was away, I would kind of see what's going on. So much has changed. I would low-key play by myself. I'd watch some of my favorite streamers. I'd watch Planet Destiny. I'd watch my channel, and I saw every single comment over the past 6 months. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate it. So in this video, I want to sit back, talk about some of the changes in Destiny 2016, and into the future. And everything I say is my opinion. I'm not trying to speak for anyone else. I've been playing, getting familiar with the game again. Actually, I just downloaded the new patch today. It's been fantastic. There is some weapon variety. The elite PvP guys, they're still doing their thing. Absolute best loadout every single time. That's never going to change. But one thing I do want to touch on is balance. It's been so hard for Bungie, man. Like, if there was a nuclear war and the president went to Bungie and said, you know what, to stop it, you have to nerf the Thorn. Like, I'm not sure that they could do it. But I do want to say it again. Bungie, they need to nerf and buff separately. There needs to be a line drawn between PvE and PvP, and Destiny's next game has to take that into consideration. They just have to. Let's take that first auto rifle nerf with the Suros. It did a couple things. One, it was looked at, it's the most used gun in the Iron Banner, and after consideration, we're going to nerf the ARs. Well, they were all around nerfed, and they were nerfed so bad that players, they kind of moved on to hand cannons. They moved on to scouts for PvE. Then we had the terror of the Thorn era, right? Then hand cannons, they're nerfed to the point to where the reserve ammo is taken away. You constantly have to search for it in PvE. Range was messed with, accuracy was messed with. New concept guns like the Ace of Spades from the Hunter. It was just a hassle to use because you couldn't get anything going in high-level content with it. So I'm glad that they addressed it this time around, but they have to nerf and buff separately. So here's the deal. You cannot let the PvP community dictate weapon balance. You cannot do it anymore. I mean, I love the PvP in this game. I play it more than PvE, but I love the strikes. I love the raids. I love the missions. And when whole weapon classes like fusions, which, by the way, I still feel bad for anyone that didn't get to play with a vanilla fusion. They were so much fun. But, you know, there were no shotguns in PvE. That's all you used because they ripped shields really good. They were fun, but they've been bad for so long, if that makes sense. Then they come out with this patch. They give them a little love, but why did it take so long? I'm pretty sure there weren't too many people going around saying, you know what, that fusion rifle is a little too strong on PvE. They go on some forum and start complaining that the Void Fusion shreds Minotaurs too easy, needs nerf now. That just didn't happen because it was PvP. PvP is the reason that all this happened. When one side of the game, let's say the PvP community, starts complaining about, I'll bring up the Vex, right? That was one of the first real issues. Which, by the way, there's no room for a 56 headshot Vex in the Crucible. I mean, the headshot damage now does less than a body shot damage did back then, if that makes any sense. There was no room for it, all right? It needed nerfed. But it shouldn't have been nerfed for the PvE side. That's where you got it. That's where it's supposed to shine. And when they balance these things, they have to keep that kind of stuff in mind. And now with this patch, let's say, they're taking away special ammo in the Crucible, but they're adding more special ammo bricks in PvE. That is a step in the right direction. We need more of that because enough is enough on the other type of stuff. And another thing I want to talk about is lag. I want to talk about lag a little bit. It doesn't matter if you get 150 down, 30 up, if you have Google Fiber. This is a peer-to-peer match-made game. It's a P2P, so you're hosting each other's games, and sometimes that means that you're hosting someone literally across the ocean. So it's the connection that he has to you, and it's the connection that you have to him. There's also Wi-Fi players, and again, the connection is player-to-player, P2P, peer-to-peer. So even those guys, I mean, they all have to connect somewhere, and sometimes it's in your lobby. And that leads to the last thing I kind of want to talk about. It's skill-based matchmaking. So before I started playing, I was reading on forums, Reddit, Bungie, skill-based matchmaking, connection-based matchmaking. So there's always been filters in place for matchmaking. It'll say, okay, this player doesn't have the Taken King, this one doesn't have that. So when it searches, there are filters in place. And I've always kind of viewed matchmaking kind of like this, right? You're sitting at a desk, you pull out a file cabinet next to you on the right, there's just one folder in there, and that folder only holds 12 papers, or 6 papers. So in your hands, you have like 100 papers, a full stack of them. You drop them into the folder, right? Eventually, 12 of them find that folder. Boom, that's your game. That's just matchmaking. So the same goes for like a connection-based matchmaking, except you filter them out. Okay, this is a green paper. We're going to keep that. That's a red paper. You don't mix them together, and so on and so forth. You can kind of catch my drift on where we're going with this. Skill-based is the same thing.
But there's some kind of value attached to it. Maybe it's numerical. But the whole point is that the state that Destiny is in right now and has been, there's no room for skill-based matchmaking over connection. It's a peer-to-peer game. It's 30 frames a second. And remember, this is a PvE type game first. But there's also a strong competitive scene in Destiny. We know that. But there has to be balance. You start running into a lot of issues with skill-based matchmaking. Number one, the obvious, you err on the side of skill over connection. And I play with a lot of players overseas. That's great and all, but again, it's peer-to-peer. I'm sure that there are regional filters in place, but sometimes you end up hosting players that are across the ocean. I don't know how you guys feel about that. And number two, you tend to see a lot more red bars. That's the obvious one. Number three, it makes it hard to play with some friends at various skill levels. I mean, I have some friends that are good at PvE. They're starting to get good at PvP, but it's just not fun for them when they used to play with me when they really had the skill-based matchmaking. Like my wife, I am CoolGuy. That's one of the reasons she doesn't like it, because she would play with me, and she'd play against really good players, and it just simply wasn't fun for her. So I think that the only reason that they started getting this going, the only thing that makes sense, is that they're trying to implement it for Destiny 2. That's the only thing that I can think of. And in a later video, I want to go over what I think some sort of rating system would be for Destiny 2. Those are some things I want to talk about, guys. A real quick video. I can't wait to get into the prison. I mean, I ran 2 characters today for trials. They have a year 2 LDR, and if you guys have been with me for a little bit, you know that's how I roll. LDR for life. But in future content, I want to talk about fusions a little bit. I've really gotten into them. They're really good before the patch, and they're even better now. I even have some tips on how to use them. So I want to do some more live gameplay commentaries. I also have another addition to my Crucible Tips series. It feels good to be back talking with you guys, and until the next one, I'm CoolGuy.